Wow, this was such an important part of our wedding. We were up on those chairs getting thrown around, holding a napkin in between us to symbolize our unity. And you can't drop the napkin, or I think something bad happens. This was a very reflective moment for me at our wedding because Elliot and I actually met in the 6th grade. We were fast friends and soon became more than friends, and we dated for 7 years before we got married in 2012. So this is a picture of my in-laws, my father-in-law Brad and my mother-in-law Melinda. And Brad is not Jewish, but Melinda is, and Elliot was raised in a Jewish home. So she had to work extra hard in her interfaith marriage to make sure that Judaism was a priority for her children and rang true in their life. And I hope to do the same thing in our family. Even though I'm not the one that's Jewish, I do want to carry out those traditions and have that be a big part of our family, including when we have kids someday. The cookbook that you see here was something my mother-in-law gave me in one of my first Hanukkahs as part of the family. It's the cookbook that she and all of her family use. It's kosher. It's where I get my recipe for latkes, for challah, for anything that's coming up around the holidays. I looked at it today for a brisket recipe since Hanukkah started yesterday. And with Hanukkah upon us, I'm taking a stab at Melinda's latke recipe this week, and she claims if I follow the recipe that's in the book, there's nothing I can do to screw it up, but we'll have to see once Elliot tastes it and make sure that food is the way to his heart and that I do it just as well as his mother did. Grate potatoes and onion on the fine side of a grater or in a food processor, or put in a blender with a little water. We're gonna wash the potato, we're gonna peel the potato, cut it up, and put it in the food processor. So let's get started. Washing the potato. Now we dump these in. Make sure I got them all in small enough pieces. And then we're gonna add the onion. There's an old wives' tale that says if you put a piece of bread on your upper lip, you won't cry when you're peeling an onion. I never do this or try it, but I think about it every time when onions make me tear up. Peel all that icky stuff off of the onion. The recipe called for 1 large onion, but I only have small onions, so I'm just going to do 2. I've never had anything that was too oniony. Excuse my red weepy eyes. Maybe I'll try that loaf of bread trick sometime. Next, going to add eggs, flour, and seasoning mixed well. A little trick that I did learn from my mother-in-law with all of her Jewish cooking is that it's very hard to make things too salty. So even when I make challah or matzo ball soup, I usually double and sometimes triple the amount of salt used. And see what our texture is like to see if we need another egg. Perfect. I'm going to give it 1 more layer of seasoning for good measure. And then before I keep stirring, I'm going to skip ahead to the next step, which is heating half a cup of oil in a skillet, lower the flame, and then we'll place the batter on there. So let's transition to get the stove heating up while we finish stirring. Okay, so our skillet is hot. The oil is ready. This is the fun part because it makes something crispy and delicious, but it's also the dangerous part because you have to watch for splatter. So I just take a spoon. Do you hear that sizzle? There's no healthy way to do this. Now, one of the tricks is really letting them sit and not flipping them until they're totally ready, because if you flip them more than once, they fall apart, which they're still delicious, but then they're hash browns and not latkes. So our timer went off. It was good to flip. This is our first batch. They're a little thick for this first round, which is okay. They're still gonna be good, but when I do the next batch, I'm gonna make them a little thinner. Just like when you make pancakes or when you make anything in batches, cookies, sometimes the first batch is an experiment, but the good news is I know they're still gonna taste good. So the final product, you can serve latkes with sour cream and or with applesauce. I personally like to cover mine in sour cream and then take occasional bites in a dip of applesauce, but that's just me. Some people like just applesauce, some people like just sour cream. I think it's a sweet savory thing. So let's see how we did. Dry run.